This is a quick walkthrough installing Kali Linux on a Mac using Oracle VirtualBox Manager. The version that we're using, if we look at About VirtualBox 6.1.26, August 2021. Downloaded and installed in the last 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to create a new machine, new virtual machine. I'm going to call it Kali cybr7200. Where I keep the file will take up that space. So if you want to choose an external drive, choose your machine folder now. The type of Linux it's a operating system Linux, and I know Kali to be a Debian. I could probably use Debian 64-bit or Ubuntu 64-bit. Since Ubuntu is Debian, I'm going to go with Debian 64-bit. What that does is just sets various options that recommend it. That's a little small for memory. I'm going to bump that up to 2. Sometimes I'll go higher on the install and then bump it back later after it's running, because the install sometimes takes more. I'm going to bump that up to. I'll bump that up to 3. Create the virtual disk. I'm going to go with the defaults for everything unless I have a really good reason not to. Or thinking about exporting it, I might think about those others. I just want to get it working. I'm going to go dynamic so it doesn't use it until it needs it. And let's make that, I'll go 16. And one more thing I need to do is go into the settings, because it doesn't know what to boot from yet. I need to go to its storage settings, and on the IDE or on the disk control, I click on that disk, come over to here to choose what the source of it is. It's going to be a live CD, and then choose a disk file, which now I'm going to browse over to my hard drive that I downloaded Kali to. So I'm choosing the ISO. So I'm going to be looking for an ISO that I downloaded over to this spare drive I'm using, because I just download gobs of things all the time. Go down to the K's and I should find the Kali Linux that I just downloaded from the Kali.com site, or Kali.org site. And make sure to check live CD. And now we're ready to boot. Now this is the part that once we get it started, kick off the machine. I could double click here or click start here when it's selected. And now it's booting, and it's using that ISO as its virtual drive. Because I had live CD, it will now boot from that. And I'm going to go with the graphic install. And remember, left option key on the Mac, I like to leave that there until I have it firmly in my mind what that is. And now I hit enter to do the graphical install. And now it's going through the graphical install. It will be asking me a few questions, so I don't want to go for coffee yet. Don't worry about some error messages at the start. If you get to here, you're good. Go on to the default options. You get English United States, American English keyboard. Detects my ISO. It's reading the ISO as a virtual CD. And it's going to be asking me, what do I want to install it to? And it'll be installing it to that virtual hard drive. This part is where it is detecting my devices on my current system. If you import a system from someone else, sometimes it runs into trouble, and you have to figure out how to tell it what the real drivers are. And you got to do some special things. It's not horrible, but it is a pain. So it's easier, and it's better for you to know all of this, how to do it from scratch. I'm going to leave that blank. I'll just call it Manning.net. It doesn't really matter what it is, but I'll give it my last name. And I'm going to make a new user. Now this is where you could do root and tour, but I'd like to make it clear that this is my drive, my system, so anyone seeing anything I'm doing, no, this is mine. And that's my username, and I'm going to use a password I use on all my systems. And gonna go with my time zone. And we're almost ready to go get coffee. It's going to be asking, do I want to use the entire disk? Yes, I'm going to use the entire disk. Again, default options, unless you really know you don't want the default option. It just saves you headaches. And now it's ready to continue, and we're about ready to let it ride. Now, this is where we let it go. Now, so this has been 6 minutes in. And now installing and completing the base system, going a little bit faster than it did on my older Blade server. But I'm going to pause it just because it will take a while. And when it's done, we'll see what time it is. So the time now, 9:26 p.m. I'm going to pause so you don't have to watch the whole thing. But this is the part that it will crunch away at for a while. We'll come back when that's done. So 9:26, and after about 20 minutes, it comes to this screen where, again, I'm going with the default options. You can go large if you like, if you have the time. Remember, we can always come back and add additional tools, going with the default. If you like GNOME, go ahead. I'm going to learn their basics, and I'm happy to use XFCE. This is the desktop look and feel. And they're not small, so don't choose it if you don't know you want it, because it will take more time in the install. Alright, continuing that. 9:56. And I'm going to, oh, it looks like it's not going to take too long. We'll see if they're not lying to us about the time remaining. I'm thinking, let's see, we're already at 1,000, close to 1,000, and we have 900 to go. Maybe we'll believe them. There may be some install choices popping up as it goes through the installation. Remember, Kali is just like any other Linux. It's Debian based, so it's like Ubuntu, but it's just a lot of other packages bundled together with Kali. You could start with Ubuntu and do a lot of these activities, but you'd have to be manually installing tools, and they'd be popping up in your menu, different places. Kali has them all arranged in the menu system. I think I might pause this and come back when it's done, so you don't have to sit and watch this bar move. So I'm going to pause it, come back. It is 11:12, and it's still going as though this second round of installs is doing a whole fresh install. So I'll pause it just to let you know it's taken longer than I expected on this Mac. I don't think I was doing a ton of other things while this is running. I have Word open, I have some browser windows open. But don't be surprised if you see that install take a while. Okay, it is 12:22. Unbelievably long time on my Mac, but it completed successfully. And yes, I'm going to let it install the bootloader, because this VM is the machine. We're not dual booting the VM, so don't worry about you not wiping out your Mac. This is the operating system it sees on its virtual drive. So yes, we are going to install a bootloader. It's only going to be the only operating system on this virtual machine. And we're going to let it choose the virtual drive that was created for it by VirtualBox. This is one of the last steps. When it sees that drive, it needs to know what to run, all within the world of that virtual machine. It is completely separate from your Mac OS, so don't let that scare you. So we're almost done here, and we'll be rebooting shortly. I'm really not doing that much on my Mac. It's not that slow of a Mac, but that took surprisingly long. I was running off the hard drive internally. Sometimes you'll see that if you're storing your machine on a USB device. So it's configuring the final things. And we should be good to go. I'll let you watch this final part here. I tried showing a YouTube video while I was doing the install. It doesn't play nice with Screencast-O-Matic is what I'm using. To record this. There we go. Now comes the moment of truth here. I'm going to boot into my new system. And continue. Now, to remove that hard drive, to remove the CD, sometimes I have to shut it off here. But it's seeing the new system, so I'm going to go ahead and let it boot. And while it's booting, I'm going to go ahead and remove the CD. I can do that down here, right there. I can remove that so you can see that. It's not letting you see that. Let me move that up a little bit. Let me record my record now. I go down to here. Oh, can't quite see it yet. A little bit further. And down here, I can do remove disk from virtual drive. Even though it's not booting from it. Now, I can log in with that login I created. Successfully installed Kali on a Mac using VirtualBox. Finally, it's 12:30 a.m. I think my Mac is slow. Your Mac, I don't think, will be nearly as slow. And just to do one more thing, verify that I am connected to the internet, I can bring up a terminal window right here, a terminal emulator. That's my command line. I'm doing most of my stuff on the command line. And I'm going to first of all do if config. I see that I have an IP address. Don't worry about that private IP. We can mess with the settings to give it an external, or basically VirtualBox is acting as a little mini firewall here. And just to make sure, I can do ping www.google.com. It is getting there, so I am connected to the internet. Control-C will stop that pinging. I have a successful install. And I can echo hello. I can do ls, see where I am. CD to documents, change my folder, hit tab to autocomplete. ls, show me what's there. Make directories cybr7200. There it is. ls-al shows me the full information. cd cy tab autocompletes. pwd shows me that I'm there. My prompt is automatically set to show the path I'm in. And shows me I have a working Kali system. Woohoo! And I'm going to do a sudo shutdown. Halt now. Sudo shutdown -h now means halt the system, and I could give a time in the future, but I'm going to say go ahead and shut down now. Anything with privileged authority I need to give a password to using the sudo command. And shutting down. And we're good.